Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Security Table, where I thought we were going to have a new member of the table, even though there was literally a dog sitting here a second ago. And so welcome to the second half of what's already been a 30-minute conversation behind the scenes about lots of different things. And under the table. Yeah, that's our new podcast. It's called Under the Table. We use a drinking game format and based on various four-letter acronyms. Like if someone says, DAST, it's like drink your entire whatever you have in front of you. S-bomb is just a single shot. There's just
whatever happened to RTFM. Come
on. All right, but we do have a serious topic that we want to talk about today, and that is bug bounty, and is it still useful in the year 2024 or 2025, depending on when you're listening to this. So, bug bounty. Let's start by just laying out what do we think when we say bug bounty. What do we think it is? And I've already talked enough. So, who wants to define bug? Like, what is a bug bounty?
What is a bug bounty? So, bug bounty is simply a company makes something available for security researchers to look at, provides an opportunity for security researchers to do legitimate work, to find issues and report them responsibly for some sort of payment. Right? They don't do it they don't do it for their civic responsibility from our last episode. They don't do it for the goodness of their heart. They do it for swag and a leaderboard and money. So it's basically paid QA for security issues.
Okay. So that leads me to think right off the top, is bug bounty cheaper or less expensive for an organization versus what they may have done previously? Like, is bug bounty preventing or pushing off pen testing? So we're doing less pen testing because we have a bug bounty, and is that bug bounty costing less than what maybe we did in the past? Because I've heard some horror stories about people in the bug bounty, like researchers that aren't making very much money, they're doing a lot of work and they're getting paid. Like over time, what they're getting paid is going down more and more. Like it's not like when bug bounty first started, when there was a lot of hype and there was a lot of money being thrown around. Like it's become not as lucrative as an opportunity. Whereas the top level people make lots of money, but there's lots of people that are spending a lot of time that are not making very much money in their endeavors. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, there's a lot in that.
Yeah. So I think maybe
unpack it.
So, well, actually, I'll just throw in a possibility here. We have heard over the years that it is cheaper to fix issues sooner in the development lifecycle than later.
So right off the IBM study, yep.
Well, or
we don't know if it exists, but
and Verico did one, and others have copied it over the years. And well, we pitch it because if you want to do threat modeling to find design issues before you build it into your product, because in theory it's cheaper and whatnot. And so, if you hold that view, then a bug bounty is you've already shipped. And so you've already spent engineering time to build something in that now you're going to give to QA to QA testers who are not your own to find problems and report them to you that you're then going to pay them for. You're probably going to pay them a lot less than a full-time employee, but you're going to get varying quality of results. So is it cheaper? To your point, I think there's an argument to be made that it isn't, unless you get a high volume of quality results.
Yeah. So I'm going to start talking, and I have no idea where I'm going to end with this.
I do that every day, so that's a common occurrence for me. But go ahead.
But okay, so once upon a time, pen testing, it was a very exclusive thing. You had a very limited number of people who were able to properly, or changing values of properly, do a pen test. And before standards came up and people started looking at things in a more industrial kind of way, I think, it was very much a game of chance. What kind of results you would get, because it was natural to expect that any given pen tester would focus more on those things that are more interesting to them or that they know more about. And you could be shown, hey, you have this one thing here, but that didn't say anything about the other huge amount of things that might be there and did not get discovered in a pen test. Now, when you turn that around to bug bounties, then you end up with, and at least the scenario that I have seen, perhaps doesn't reflect the whole industry, but that's my personal experience. You end up with people who are very good at a specific thing, and rather than just that one place, they go looking at all the things that offer a bug bounty for that specific thing. So it could be said that if your bug bounty is well managed and well put out there, and you invite the right people or you open it to the public, it could be said that you are getting a certain amount of depth in that specific thing, hoping that there's enough breadth in the number of people who are coming to your bug bounty that that's going to end up giving you better coverage than a pen test. Of course, by this, I'm not talking about those pen test providers that we know and love, who give you like a team and the team is diverse and all that good stuff. But those are expensive beyond limit, right?
So along that, so I'm going to interrupt you just because I know you want to talk, but I want to ask you a quick question on this.
Me?
Yeah, you.
When have I ever done that?
So because you bring up with pen testing, right? The big thing about pen testing is scoping. Bug bounties are also scoped. Do you find, I guess in your experience, have you found that bug bounties are properly restricted to focus the ask for the crowdsourcing, yet not too restrictive as to bind that crowdsourcing in terms of the technology type or other factors you were just talking about?
So I personally have seen at least two kinds of bug bounties that come to mind. Those that are scoped per property. Hey, here's our thing, go and break it. Mm-hmm. And those that are scoped by kind of stuff that you want to hear back. We are interested in ASP top 10, whatever, right? So, what was the question again?
Do you find it overly broad or overly restrictive on average for bug bounties?
The overly broad, I have seen teams that have to keep answering people, especially because there's a lot of spray and pray in that. They have to keep telling people, hey, sorry, thank you for your submission, but that's out of scope, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that HackerOne has put some statistics about that kind of thing or whatever. But on the other hand, yes, sometimes you could, by design, make it so restrictive that you're going to get a limited set of results. Then the question is, are you doing that out of, I don't want to say ignorance, but out of limited resources? Or are you doing that because you think that that's the bit of your process that's lacking and you want more deeper verification on that specific thing? And if that's the case, what do we as practitioners can learn from that focus to improve our processes?
Something you said just made me think of bug bounty theater. Do we have bug bounty theater these days where, like, bug bounty is one of those things it's like expected. Like if you ask a good sized company, say even 200 people and more in the startup world, oh, do you have a bug bounty? Yes. It's like one of those checkbox items now. Like everybody has one. But I guess is there bug bounty theater happening where people really aren't getting results from it, but they're playing along because this is something we have to do now to look like we're serious about security. So they have the program, but they're not paying anything out because they're not getting any quality results because they've scoped things in such a way that doesn't allow somebody to just go wide open on their system and break it in any way they possibly can.
Or they're scoped it to, we want to understand our sales platform or our community support site and not the thing that we're actually selling. Right. So, they may have completely scoped out the thing that people are caring about when they asked you of a bug bounty, and yet they still have a bug bounty. So to that point, I guess, is that happening, and is that a prevalent thing?
So I'm gonna Bruce Schneier and I just went together on this term, bug bounty theater. because he invented this idea of security theater. And so I'm taking it and we're evolving it one step further into bug bounty theater. Because one of my challenges I've always had with bug bounty is companies will start bug bounty too early. Like they'll build a new product, like we have to do a bug bounty for this, and like they would get like cross-site scripting, then be paying $5,000 or $10,000 for a cross-site scripting. It's like you could have just done this yourself. Like this is part of just good hygiene, and by not having applying proper security engineering processes, principles, components to the thing that you built, you just created something and you threw it to see if it would stick on the wall, and you let people start going after it. And so that's always been my challenge.
No, but those are two different problems. The bug bounty theater is basically the same thing as self-attestation. You are telling the world, hey, I have this part of my process. If you do or you don't, I don't care. You can always say it's a limited invitation only thing, and go prove that they don't have one. Mm-hmm. But the throw it out and get people to test it for you, that's more of I could see in certain instances, for example, a very small startup with something that they think that could be high profile very quick, throw it out as part of testing and be ready to pay for that kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I would call that theater as much as a conscious transference of responsibility to the world out there. So I'm saying, hey, I know that I have to do testing. I know that right now I'm not equipped to do that well, unless, you run Dast.
Well, that's what you just described, though. What you just described is what I refer to as responsible bug bounty.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of bug bounty theater. So I'm just creating these things on the fly.
That could happen at every level. I think that the bug bounty theater would be to come up and say, oh, we have this bug bounty and it's very limited. We only get really elite super bug bounty hunters and whatever. By the way, you're not one of them. Don't ask for details because we're not going to give it to you. But rest assured, we have good people on it. Mm-hmm. Right? So that for me would be bug bounty theater. But the other one, I could see that transference of responsibility being done in a logical way.
Responsible bug bounty, which that's the way bug bounty was supposed to be done. What you just described is a fair assessment of how the bug bounty should work and should be used by a company. Yep. And Matt disagrees with us, so let's hear that.
I was just going to say crowdsourced security testing. So how is that different from hiring a contractor or consulting firm to do your testing for you?
Well, you only pay for results.
Yes.
Right. So you pay for you hire a contractor. How many times have you seen a pen test report where it comes back and they're like, we didn't find anything? And I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Anybody can find anything in any, no system is so secure that there is zero findings to be had with it.
You're not scanning for false negatives.
I'm going to talk. We can talk about scope. We have to talk about scoping yet again then if we're going to do that, because that's the problem with pen test. And I guess maybe I'm answering my own question. Thank you for hooking this together. Pen testing is usually time and resource boxed, whereas bug bounty is open-ended to some extent.
But results oriented.
And results oriented.
Pay for results, basically.
Right. But you don't get to control it as much. So in other words, you're really relying on somebody. It's not like an Uber. You're not calling an Uber to do testing. You're sort of bird watchers. If you happen to be out in the field and you happen to find an issue and you happen to report it and you happen to know what you're doing, I'm going to get the results from that. I'm going to pay you as a result. But as opposed to, I want to hire you to actually find problems on my schedule.
One thing that doesn't get discussed enough, I think, as usual, when it's about looking into the engine, is the internal side of bug bounties, right? So if you're an AppSec team and you have a bug bounty, and you're using one of the bug bounty manager services out there, every time that you get something, there's an interesting discussion around risk, around the prioritization, because the person presenting the bug wants to bring that criticality up as much as they can so that they earn more.
Yeah. True.
So wait, do you want to explain to people what the pay, how bug bounties pay out? Wait.
The middle of the road, the maintainer is just trying to basically play a broken telephone game with a person that knows what they are attacking and what they're getting, and a person that knows the inside of the system and their own criticality and severity scale. And the AppSec team is just trying to decide, is this something that I have to stop everything now and deal with it?
Yep.
Or is this one more person telling me that my certificate is going to end in 6 months and I should pay a bounty for them to tell me that? So just having the bug mounted doesn't, well, it does. It does take some work off of the AppSec team, but it gives them more work at the same time.
Yeah, because they have to triage. They have to triage the results to decide whether, and you brought up another point, this contention between the researcher says this is a critical, the AppSec team says this is a low.
But apart from the triage, if you do internal triage, at least it's two groups trying to talk about the same thing using the same language. Mm-hmm. Engineering wants to bring that criticality down as much as they can so that they don't have to deal with it. And AppSec wants to bring it up as much as they think it should be so that it's dealt in the right time frame.
Yeah.
But now when you put the bug bounty in place, now it's three people talking completely different views of the same thing. Mm-hmm. So there is even much more in that interaction because now you have a translation layer to put on top of the triage.
Yeah. But those kind of operate in a vacuum, though, from what I've seen. Being like, I've not seen a bug bounty where engineering AppSec team are working together on criticality. It's normally the AppSec team that's triaging and then reassigning those tasks for mitigation via engineering resources without them having a say into what the actual criticality is.
Then it's even worse in that case, because now you have twice the process. Once to determine how much the payout is going to be, and once to determine how fast the solution is going to be.
Yeah.
Well, so is the scheme flawed then? So should payout be based on criticality? We talked about this. We brought this concept up last time. Also, last session. Well, I guess it hasn't posted yet, so people will see it when they see it, and then it'll be the last one. That
always be the last one.
It's always be the last one. But they'll, we talked about this idea that. So if you see this out of order, you won't know what I'm talking about until you see the last one. That should these types of issues, if you're going to submit a flaw, bug, whatever, or vulnerability or a PR, in this case, I guess a bug bounty submission, should this be? Should you pay for quality of the report, not severity of the issue? In other words, if the bounty really is paid, and bounty, it could be, again, leaderboard, it could be financial, it could be other things. It maybe needs to be a submission of a problem and a fix, or problem and some sort of mitigation.
We did talk about that, yeah.
But I think, as opposed to that point of quality, though, like nobody's ever going to pay on quality, right? Because, but watch what happens. I'll just go write a bunch of quality reports for low findings and get paid at a higher rate because of my quality metric that they're being paid on, right? It's a pay for performance, and the most critical things are gonna drive the biggest payouts, because they're gonna be the things that, if they were 0 days that were in the underground, not known, or if a researcher found it and then went the other way, because that's the other thing we haven't even touched on yet, right? There's a whole marketplace for security research, an underground marketplace. Some of it's not underground, some of it's above ground, but like nation states pay for exploits, right? There's a market, there's a whole cottage industry of nation states that will buy exploits from security researchers. So now you've got this dilemma as a researcher between, do I play in the bug bounty space and minimize the amount of money, or do I take something juicy and try to broker it through the underground?
I have the feeling that we are not talking about the same players.
And now we're talking about ethics, right? We have that ethics conversation about
ethics. Always comes into everything, man.
No. But even before that, I think that the people who are in the market for 0 days at the national security level are not the same people who are running around spraying and praying on bug bounty.
Oh yeah, I think they totally are. I think they're some of the same people. I think they. Why would they not use, if you've got the level of skill to be able to find exploits and sell them to nation states, why not double dip on both sides of the equation?
Because he's talking about.
Then you go to Pwn to One and you get $1 million and you go to sleep.
But I think you're talking about spray and pray. You're talking about what we traditionally have called script kiddies. You run the scripts, you run the scanner, you run the DAST script, whatever, and you get a result and you report it. So, which the company could have done themselves, but they didn't, and so they went ahead and.
So are we drawing a conclusion that the majority of bug bounty work that's happening right now is equated with script kiddiness of the 2000s?
No, not suggesting that at all.
No,
just
at all.
I was
looking for controversy.
I was commenting on what Izar was saying. Is spray and pray is you identify, you create a. It could be a Metasploit too, right? Somebody is running a test that either they wrote or somebody else wrote against a whole swath of stuff, and submit, right?
Just an example. Okay, so somebody who specializes in all forms of server-side reference, whatever, SSRF. And then they go from bug bounty to bug bounty looking only for that. Okay. Because they know the vectors, they know the ways, they know how to exploit, they know that very well, right? So that's my spray and pray. It's not somebody.
What you mean. Okay.
It's not somebody just running a script against different targets.
All right. So I misunderstood.
I would describe that as.
I thought you were talking about scripting.
I would describe that as.
At some point, it becomes. At some point, it may become, but not. That's
good business on their part. That's good business.
Yeah, it is.
Become very good at one thing and then try to find 1,000 places I can recoup money on. I mean, hats off to them. Or nice job.
Until we wake up and figure out that, hey, there is a one-shot way of solving this, do something with a library, do something with settings, whatever. And then that crumbles and they move to the next one. But again, it's very smart people. It's very experienced people. And if they focus on that, they have an opportunity to make a decent amount of money, right? Now, just to go back to people who are
from legitimate
works, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, to go back to the 0-day thing, just imagine the amount of stuff that's broken in the systems that we are using right now, and we have absolutely no idea. And somewhere in a dark room, somebody's like laughing their ass off because they're going over everything that we do every day to protect these things.
I mean, that's the difference between a senior security person and anybody else in our field. If you're a senior security person, you know how bad all the things
where the bodies are buried,
are around us. you know that this is a Matrix-esque environment that we travel in.
It's the difference between what keeps you awake at night and what do you mean sleep.
Right. And how long is your non-compete agreement?
True.
Exactly. That's what.
I mean, eventually you just have to let it go. You just have to realize I'm not going to lose sleep over it because it's out of my control. And then you become is that when you reach a staff level?
No, that's the curve, right? You got like 5% who don't care about it. Everybody panicking in here, and then the 5% who said, whatever.
Well, and the trick is to watch stock sales, because those senior people usually get stock options, and if they start to sell like crazy, covert channel.
You wanted some controversy. Okay, let's see if I can get some internal bug bounties.
Isn't that just QA?
Yeah, do people even do those anymore?
Yeah, but apparently you get paid if you actually find something.
I thought those were gone. I thought people stopped doing internal bug bounties.
Hackathons? Are those also called hackathons, maybe?
If you're nice about it, I guess.
Yeah, but like you get a T-shirt or a coffee mug or something. They're not. Nobody's paying cash for those.
I've seen cash.
Really?
But again, my question always goes to. It's almost like Fiddler on the Roof. Collusion.
Yeah,
collusion.
I can create the bug, and then I can. That's always been my argument against internal bug bounty. It's like, why do I want to create an environment where you could introduce something to then fix it and gather a reward? That's just a bad motivation. Like, there's better. I can pay people for doing things like increasing their security knowledge and proving it via a training program. That's what I did at Cisco. We gave $100 when you finished the first level. And I was happy to send that money. It wasn't my money, but I was happy to send it to anybody
Other
that did
people's
that
money.
because it was a positive motivational reward. And there was no way somebody might have tried to game the system and they didn't learn as much. They still had to learn something. They couldn't just go in and there was no way they could defraud me of the $100 because they had to learn something to pass the test. Right. Whereas in an internal bug bounty, I've got this environment where somebody can game the system. I don't want to spend time trying to see if people are gaming the system. I got other bigger problems that should keep me up at night, but we've already established they don't. So now it's time for my announcement. My next career move is going to be as a CISO. Because I can sleep at night.
Of a mattress company.
A mattress company.
Yeah, because then you sleep at night and you're testing the product.
That would be really bad. Dude, that's marketing. You're in marketing now. I'm going to see if there's a marketing opening at the new company where I'm going to be the CISO.
Here's where I draw the line.
Izar refuses to join the marketing forces.
No.
All right.
No.
Well, I think that's enough for today. I think we certainly picked some rocks up, threw them around, looked underneath them, cracked them together, and somebody's probably upset at this point.
And by now, our listeners who are listening at the gym are like punching that bag harder.
That's true. Come on,
running extra miles.
In Australia.
It's true. We're big in Australia. We have established that already. So, hey, folks, thanks for listening to the Security Table. Find a way, if you have other thoughts on bug bounty, find a way to get them to us. We'd love to hear what you're thinking about this. And if you disagree with something, let us know.
And if you have something that you think that we should discuss ad nauseum, let us know.
Yeah,
we're always looking for something interesting.
Yeah. We're always spending 30 minutes considering what we need to discuss along the way.
It's Friday.
But that does conclude this episode of Under the Security Table.